professional women's network of the Monterey Peninsula, the source of encouragement and experience you've been looking for. Visit pwnmonterey.org and join us today, because alone you are amazing, but together we are unstoppable. pwnmonterey.org.
Yep. Okay. Well, first of all, I want to say welcome to everybody. I'm so excited. As you can tell, Krista is my co-host today. Of course, we have Megan and Jody, and I don't know if Teresa's going to pop in, who are here to, as always. But today it's going to be Krista and I. So I want to welcome everybody. And for those of you who might not have noticed, did you see we kind of changed up the name a little bit? We are now Level Up at Lunch. So it's kind of exciting. I love the new name myself, so I hope that you do too.
All right, Patty. Well, Katarina is not here today, but I believe Tracy is going to be doing that introduction. So,
but before she does, I want to set it up for you guys for success. So I go to a lot of things, like I'm sure you guys do. We all network in more than one place. And every now and then, I'm sure not very often, but every now and then you'll have a speaker. And when you're listening to that speaker, you're thinking to yourself, oh, this isn't anything I need, or maybe it's, just not a topic that either you're not interested in, or just doesn't have anything to do with you. Like, it does happen occasionally. But here's what I want to encourage everybody. What I want to encourage you is we shouldn't be listening to speakers only for ourselves. We are in a networking group right now, right? So we should be thinking about it as, how can I take the information that they are sharing with us, and how can I serve either my own business, the people in my network, your promotional partners. So I'm going to encourage you to put your hearing aid. I'm going to put your little hearing on so that you're listening not just for yourself, right? We have all these other people that we serve and that we love. So let's kind of listen for them too, because maybe somebody that we just had lunch with or was on a call with, literally the person who's speaking is the exact person they need to be connected to as well. So I just want to encourage everybody to kind of just get in the right frame of mind as we get to be blessed right now with our speaker. And then the last thing I want to say is, don't forget to save the chat, right? And also, because we are good networkers, right? I know everyone understands that if you told somebody that you had an introduction for them, that you're going to not want them to have to come back and say, oh, you said that you would do this intro for me. That's never a good place to be. We're going to be really good networkers here, and we're going to follow up. And if we told you that we were going to do something, we are going to do it. So I just want to encourage us all to do that. So anyway, Tracy, you're going to be the one that's going to introduce our speaker, right?
100%. Because I'm going to tell you this, you don't have to worry about not being interested in what Christi has to say.
Oh, well, I was
Because you
sure.
will. Christi and I are very close. We've been working together for several years, and I can't wait to introduce her. Let me tell you this. The alchemy of Christi's 40 years of expertise in personal and spiritual development has led to unique and effective programs designed for those seeking to live their best lives. This is so true. Beyond the Box, Creative Thinking Expanded, her second book, highlights applying the universal laws she's learned and developed over the years. Using the principles and elements of art, she's made these truths accessible for everyone. And on a personal note, I will tell you that I have experienced Christi's miracle manifesting workshop, her intuitive drawings. She's been part of the Gather community for going on 2 years now. I have high regard for Christi and her work and her insights and her ability to be a great guide based on where you are and what you're looking to have change in your life. So without further ado, please let me welcome Christi Corradi.
Thank you, Tracy, and also Elizabeth, one of my peeps too. I love you guys. And thank you for inviting me to be here. Oops, I was supposed to start with my story first, right? So I have been creating miracles my whole life. It's just been natural to me to create miracles, like big miracles, like completing graduate school, having no money or savings in my bank account, no people to support me, nothing to, help me out in life. And yet I got into a graduate school that was $30,000 a semester.
Wow.
And I ended up years later, just a few years later, totally out of debt from doing that program. Another amazing miracle is my husband and I took a year off and traveled the world and ended up without debt. And another amazing miracle of ours is that we adopted our son from Guatemala without debt, of course. And then the most recent miracle, and that really brought me down the path of the work that I'm doing right now, is that my son, during the pandemic, he's 25 now, by the way, and during the pandemic, online, he met his beloved, and he ended up marrying her. Now, there's a miracle just in and of itself, right? During the pandemic, I was worried. I was like, oh my gosh, this is really going to set back his life. What's going to happen? And yet he found his beloved, and he's grown up with these techniques and things that I've been teaching him for all these years. Sometimes he'll deny it, but that's young people, right? But he knows these principles, and they moved to our house during the pandemic too. And we live in Marin, Sonoma County now. And it's very expensive to live here, and especially for young people getting going. We had always looked at our backyard, which we live right in town in Santa Rosa, California, but we looked at what, we'd always thought, well, it'd be a great place to build what they call a granny unit, or the official term is ADU, accessory detached unit, or some dwelling unit or something like that, right? But when our son was here, we went, and Santa Rosa had the fires, and now there was lots of incentives to build things like that. And we decided to build an apartment for them back behind our garage, attached to our garage back there. And my husband kept saying to me, okay, that's a great idea, but where are we going to get the money? My husband works in social services, right? And I'm a life coach, and I do my work, and I do a lot of service work in the world. And, we're not filthy rich. Isn't that a term, filthy rich? but it's like, where are we going to get the money? And I said, I don't know, honey, but it's a divine idea. I know it's a divine idea. And so I actually borrowed $15,000 from my sister to get the project started. And that was to get the architect and get things going. And of course, the project was going to cost around $200,000. It's like, where are we going to get that? And I said, I don't know. And one of the things that I did was left no stone unturned. I looked at all options, and I actually found a short-term money loan, which they're kind of scary, because if you haven't paid it back at the end of the year, you can lose your property. And it was on our house property too, which meant that was at stake. But I had looked into all these various things, right? And one day my husband came home and he said, I got a phone call today from my brother. And I said, really? And he said, first thing he said is, have you ever felt like you won the lotto? And I'm like, wow, what was he talking about? And he said, we don't know where it's from, but there is an account that has our name on it, and the payout is whatever it was. It was a lot of money, like winning the lotto. And the money that they divided with that money was twice as much as I needed. We had over $400,000 from that payout. Now, it's probably from my husband's parents, they died 5 years ago. We had cashed out on everything that we thought was out there, right? And all of a sudden, at the perfect time, and when our thinking is in alignment, and that's what I'm going to talk about today, is how do you align to create miracles? So we had the money and it was in the bank to do this. And my son and his wife live back behind our house here. I'm in my home office, and what a joy to be able to do that for this young couple, right? So I actually went to one of my mentors and I said, you know, it's kind of an interesting thing that I can create these big miracles. So why don't I do it just like on demand? Why can't I do these things all the time? And so we actually went through some work. I don't know if any of you work with chakras. I'm not a big chakra person, but she is. And she actually started me from the bottom of the 7 chakras and started walking me through this as a discovery process to what are the answers to that for myself, to how to create miracles. Well, the bottom chakra is our root chakra. And most people think you start at the top, especially for the concept of vision, right? Because that came out to be the first step. And most all of you know the foundation of creating your work in the world is to have an amazing vision. But when I looked at it being the root chakra, like the foundation to create a vision for your business, I went, oh, that makes sense. And then she went up through the 7 chakras. And I actually discovered in that process 7 steps to creating miracles through looking at the chakras. But they're practical and they're useful. And so I'm going to share with you today now I can't go through all 7 tools, but at the end, I will give you a handout of the 7. But I'm going to talk number 1 about how do we, so on each of my steps, there's to the power of, right? So exponentiating, whatever that word is, to exponentiate the step. It's not just your normal vision, right? It is really a vision that is, so I use 3 to 5 years out. Now, that doesn't mean it takes 3 to 5 years to create a vision, but it allows your nervous system to say, okay, I could do that. That could happen in 3 or 5 years. Now, I had one client that actually put together a 1.5 year plan, and in 7 months, it was totally fulfilled. And that's because she allowed herself to get the nervous system to the point where she could dream, vision, create it. And that's the other thing. It's like, don't let anything hold you back. And we're going to talk about that in step number 3. And today, I'm not going through all 7 steps, don't worry. But so what is that idea of exponentiating the vision? So, oh, look at the kitty. So exponentiating the vision is that you need to create a vibration as if it already happened. And some of you may have worked with this, or maybe all of you, but to really look at writing it in the present tense as if it takes place. And like I said, I use 3 to 5 years to look at this. Dream away, create it as if it's already happened. Because then what you have to do with it is you have to put it on, just like you're putting on your business suit or your attire to go do a speaking event every day. You need to do that and be in that frequency, the feeling tone of doing that. And that leads me to step number 2, which came out to be sparkle. You've got to add the sparkle to the vision. So it's not just like, oh, I exercise, 3 times a week. It's got to be, what is the result that you see? It's a little bit what Krista was kind of like going for me to get with my, what was my ask, right? But what is the sparkle? And so it's like my vision for my health is not that I've lost X amount of pounds or this or that. Those are all goals that I have within my vision. But my vision is to ride bikes on gentle paths in foreign countries like Italy and Ireland and things like that. So the idea of pedaling my bike, right? And what a joy. And I did that when I was younger. I actually had hired a bike on the island of Arran in Ireland, and I had pedaled around the island. And I had a picture of that. So I brought that picture up as part of my vision, because vision. So the reason that things in pictures and why we do vision boards and things like that is because our mind actually thinks in pictures. We don't think in words. So when you write your vision, you've got to write it in a way that you picture it. And you want to know who's really good at that is Elizabeth. She's a great writer. Her vision is awesome, right? And so one of the things that I do for people is I help them calibrate their vision. So in my programs, they send me their vision and I help them sparkle it, make sure that the energy and the vitality and the enthusiasm, which enthos, which is the root of enthusiasm, is the sixth step of this, right? But right now it's about write your vision that way. Okay. Now, what I want to talk about, which is one of the most powerful steps, is step 3, which is getting unstuck. And that's kind of why, I kind of said, helping people get unstuck, because it's one of my real assets that I have. So Tracy mentioned that I'm an intuitive artist. Well, let me tell you first about how to get unstuck, or where we are stuck. We are often stuck in ways that we don't realize. I had a client come to me one time and she said, I don't know why I'm stuck. I have my business plan all written out and everything seems to be working great. And I was actually doing an intuitive wisdom drawing, which I'll tell you about in a second. And when she looked at that, she went, oh, it's my triplet sisters. In the image, which is actually starts from a scribble, she saw her 2 sisters in that and realized that system of triplets that we've all heard about, that's kind of like this little club almost, right? And she realized that they were holding her back, not intentionally, but because they didn't want her to succeed or go beyond them or move away from them or whatever their idea of what the business would do. So what she did was created a container of support. And we actually did that through creating an image of a drawing, a container of support for her triplet sisters, and then a container of support for her business. And this was about 3 or 4 years ago, she emails me every year or texts me and says, because there was a path on it that was being blocked by the triplet sisters. She goes, my path is getting wider and wider every year. And her business has just thrived and grown. So my point is, and what number 3 is about getting unstuck is, it's our subconscious beliefs, the ones we don't know are running us, that really keep us stuck. Now, you guys, I think I was made a co-host, so I'm actually going to draw a little picture here on the whiteboard to explain this. So I want you to think of an iceberg, right? And here's a nice little iceberg. And what we see on the top of the iceberg is the top, right? We think, and just like, the Titanic and everything, we think this is the part that's really running us. Well, what we see here are the circumstances and conditions. Circumstances and conditions. So the circumstances, I don't have enough clients, or, I don't have enough money in my bank account. That is the circumstances. And the conditions are, I can't pay my bills, or, I don't have, my health isn't good enough to be thriving in my business. We think it's here, and we start trying to fix things at this level, right? We start trying to go out and get more clients. We try to get our health better, things important to do eventually. But really, what is running us and what is keeping us from any success that you are having in your life, most likely, I would say 90% of the chance that it is down here in your subconscious belief. You don't know how many people I work with that say, I had this happen yesterday on a call I was doing and doing my drawings with. Somebody said, I have a fear of speaking. And I said, so what are your steps? And she says, oh, well, I'm going to practice and do blah, blah, blah. I said, let's take a look at what is under the surface. And she says, I was really told to be quiet. I was told that what I had to say as a kid wasn't valuable. How many of us have had something like that come up in our lives? And the very deep-rooted ones, we especially don't see that they are running our lives. But these are the things that create our conditions and circumstances. And we have more and more. The iceberg underneath the surface is filled with them. The closer to the surface, like maybe closer in life events, are the ones that are easier to solve, right? So how do we discover what is under there? Well, there are a lot of people out there that help you look into the subconscious. There are therapists. I'm actually a licensed art therapist. So a lot of my work came out of that, to know that the image helped create the thoughts that are down there to come to the surface so they can be healed. So looking at image is a great way to do that. Also therapists, things like that are they're in anywhere where you explore, what's behind the result that I'm having in my life. And don't start by fixing it at the conditions and circumstances. Capture it down below and work on healing that. Now, one of the things that I help people heal, that way that I help them heal that, I have a great video on my YouTube channel, which I think is Mastering the Art of Life, or it's Christi Corradi, one of the two. And it's called My Book of Life. And what I do in that is I have this great big book. I don't see it right now, but I have this great big book, and I say, we've opened the book. This is today. And that was your past. And this is the unwritten pages of your future. And what you choose, only what you choose to bring forward from what was in the past, do you need to bring forward. Otherwise, it's only in your memory, and your memory is running you, unless you choose to say, this is today. Who and where am I, and what am I doing? So I mentioned the intuitive wisdom drawings. And like I said, these start with scribbles, and then they become images. And I actually don't have people's answers. I have a great intuition, and that's what allows me to draw those. And excuse me. And but what I do is I scribble. Things look like images to me, but then I switch cameras and I show that to the client, and they get to look at it and see what it means to them, how they feel about it. And then I help guide them through that to really find out, what are those things that underlying you? Oftentimes I will just say, there are two things I can see. There's two things that are holding them back. And even just saying that helps them see, what would those two things be? Yeah, Tracy, and Elizabeth, you've both been there, right? And it's actually astonishing on what those things might be. But once we know them, we can move them to the surface. Now, the good news about this is, once we get that experience of, oh, the past is running me, what is running me, you eventually are able to say, is this moving me in the direction of my vision? And if it's a no or a not it, then you can say, what is, and just replace that automatically. So you don't always have to go digging up your past, but it heals your belief in the past when you do that, right? So the other thing that that I wanted to talk about is one of the things that is also a great challenge to people is once they understand this is, how do we remember to do this? I mean, don't you get busy in your day? I do. Like I set a great intention in the morning, you know, to be conscious all day long, to notice. This is one of the primary tools I teach people. It's actually the foundational one, is notice your thoughts. And I said, I'm going to notice my thoughts today. And I get off and running into business, and I come home at night and I look at my list, because my husband and I actually do some of this work. We keep a little thing every day. What are 3 steps we're going to do today for our 3 to 5 year vision? Now, that may mean go to work today. You know, I mean, there's a lot of, that's a whole nother conversation, but I have it in my list, and I look at my list at night and I go, oh, I didn't do that. So how do we remember? Okay, one of the things that I really encourage people to do is to start practicing noticing your thinking all day long. And you can set in your calendar, in your alarm, you can set an alarm to go off a couple of times a day. And every time it goes off, it doesn't matter if you're thinking a good thought or a bad thought, because this is the calisthenics of learning to be conscious of your own thoughts instead of just being busy, busy, busy all the time, right? And so when the alarm goes off, you go, what am I really thinking today? And then you start practicing, and the more you practice that, the more you'll be able to go, that is my thought right now. And one of the reasons we want to practice that is because we don't even realize how many negative thoughts we have about people and things and environment that we have, right? So, and one of the things I do is I help people find their answers within themselves, because what I know is everybody has everything they need to become successful towards their longing, because the longing within them is what I call the divine wanting to express through them. Okay, and so one of the ways you can do these thoughts as they come up, you can go, oh, is this in alignment with the divine? That's how I would say it, whatever your word is for the universe, or positivity, right? Because why would you want to be thinking thoughts that are not positive? Do you know, I do a talk sometimes called How to Change Other People for Your Own Benefit. Wouldn't you like to know that, right? It's how you think about them. It's how you think about them. You remember the butterfly effect? Everybody heard of the butterfly effect? It's where the scientists discovered that a butterfly in Argentina fluttering its wings does affect the weather in England. And so any thought you have, and it's a vibrational frequency, right? It's doing that. You think good about people or things or your life, it creates more of that, not only for you, but for them. You know, I had a lot of people that were very upset about some of the politics that were going on several years ago, even now. It's like you want to diss people that have that much control over your life. You're just creating not only more of that happening in the world, you're also creating that happening in your life. So one of the tools is to measure, is my thought joyful? Joy is a high vibration. If you want to look up the frequencies of vibration, David Hawkins and his levels of consciousness has actually the megahertz of what different emotions create. And joy and gratitude are very high frequencies. In fact, they're equal to those that are of abundance. Because abundance, and it's not about the money, it's about the freedom that you experience, right? It's at that same frequency. So you can just go, and I know Elizabeth is this way all the time, right? Is this a joyful thought? Is this bringing me joy? Is this bringing joy to the other person? Right? And you don't even have to say anything or do anything. You know, when I first started this work about 40 years ago, I had to change it. I was saying 30 years ago, and I looked and I was like, oops. When I was studying this, a bunch of us went out to dinner one night, and it was late. It was after 10 o'clock at night, and we're sitting there, and the waitress comes up to us, and she was snotty, and we went, oh, well, heck with her. And then some of us said, hey, let's do an experiment. What if we send her in our thinking blessings and good thoughts and things like this? She came up to our table. She stood there. Nobody said anything. Nobody said anything. And all of a sudden she just broke down crying. And she said, it's been the worst day. I'm so sorry and we invited her to sit down with us and tell us her story. Right? It's like we changed her through our thinking. You can change your environment through your thinking. And that's how you change. If you want to change, I talk to a lot of parents that have estranged children, adult children or whatever. It's so sad to me to think that their kids have somehow become upset with them. And anything they do, they've tried reaching out, they do this or that. And I said, start imagining that you treat them the way you want them to be in your life. And I did this with my son when he was like, still not even walking. All he wanted was his dad. And I would go to pick him up and he would scream and push me away, especially at night. And I just had to smile and rock him and sing to him to help him go to sleep, even though he's like, he loves me dearly now, right? He did then too, but there's a lot to the adoption story, right? So what are you thinking when that person pulls over in front of you and slows down to get their cell phone out? What are you going to do? How is it? Does it really make a difference to say, oh, heck with you, you rotten person, la, 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 la? It does, because you create more of that. So I have a phrase, and you can change this anyway. Well, first I'll tell you about namaste. So namaste means it's a term that means the divine in me recognizes the divine in you. And this is what I tell people about politics. You do not have to approve of their politics. The divine in you recognizes the divine in them. And just think, if you're seeing the divine in somebody that is unhappy or angry or whatever, and somehow that affects them, the divine in them starts being activated or whatever, they're going to change and you're going to be better off. Well, so I decided, I kept saying to people, and Elizabeth and Tracy know this because I talk about this in my course that I do called Miracle Manifesting, is the term bless their heart. Bless their heart. Now, I was talking to my son was editing some of my videos, and he goes, Mom, down in the South, that doesn't mean the same thing. It's actually almost the same as F you, right? And I said, good, then I'm going to change that too. It's like, bless their heart. And I actually had a woman on one time, and she goes, you just changed my whole life. I was using that for sarcasm. Well, bless their heart, you know? And she says, now I'm going to bless everybody's heart. Think if we go around and no matter what, even if they diss us, that we go, bless your heart in our minds. We don't have to do it out loud, right? You're going to change the world. And that is one of the things that I'm working towards helping change the world, is getting people, and if it means for the sake of their own success, to think only thoughts they want to create more of in their lives. That'll work, right? But it will change our world. It will change our world if we start creating that frequency, that thought in the world. Bless their hearts, everyone that you come in contact with. Now, there was one more thing I wanted to say. Oh, no. So when I discovered those 7 steps, I did that for myself. And I will put a handout, Tracy will put a handout in of the 7 steps, and I'm going to go ahead and share it and just quickly go through it for you. And so you will have this. And what I love being able to share our screens, right? Technology, yes. Okay, so here are the steps. And if you know anything about the chakras, you can look and go from the bottom up and see how these relate to that, okay? So number 1 is vision exponentiated, okay? And the next one is sparkle. We talked about that. And what's stopping you? Catch your thoughts in erroneous thinking, choose the vibration you want to be manifesting. And I like to use joy because that's kind of my favorite thing, right? And then choose your new replacement thoughts, okay? And have those in your hip pocket. What do I want to say when I am feeling stuck? I have a client that I Am Well is one of my favorite. And if I have my book Beyond the Box, it's the story that's in the beginning, how midair I was about to crash on the ground and I was probably going to have a broken body. And midair, I changed from to I am well. I am well. I am well. I hit the ground and I barely even had a sprained ankle. There were 2 doctors in the room who thought, get ready, call 911, right? But so you have to have that in place before the events happen. So she knows my I am well, and she went in to see somebody and they had a sniffly cold and they were sneezing and coughing the whole time. And she says, I drove all the way home going, I am well, I am well, I am well, right? We need to have these in our hip pocket. Then step 4 is you are the divine in expression. Did you know that? Do you know that? Do you live that? You are the creativity of the divine, coming here to do things that have never been done before and to be in joy and in bliss, right? Katarina's bliss, right? And so live from that. That's another good question. Am I in alignment with whatever universal, whatever there is? And am I doing that work in the world, right? And then the 5th chakra, right? Those of you who know this is the 5th chakra. And Emerson said, stand guard at the portal of your mind. And I always say, and of your mouth. Don't let anything cross your lips. First of all, you're thinking, and then your lips that you do not want to create more of. I had this guy kept telling me I had a heart attack. I had a heart attack. I said, honey, you're going to have another heart attack. Stop it. Don't ever tell that story again. Right. So I came back to see him the next time. He said, I stopped telling that story. Here's the change in that. The next time I came back, he says, I started telling that story again. And I said, oh, what for? And he said, to help other people. At first, he was telling the story about it as a victim. when he stepped back, he was be able to come back and tell the story from empowerment. And that's where we come to ethnos. And this is really great because Katerina just went through my 8-week course, and so did Tracy and Elizabeth. And the step number 6 is ethnos. And this is your third eye. And this is where your intuition is and all of these things, right? And ethnos is of God. So make sure that you are in alignment with the enthusiasm. And that's why enthusiasm works so great, right, Elizabeth? It's like, because there is that power, whatever it is, where you're in alignment. Okay. And then the next step is just do it. And I don't have time to tell the girl who wanted to go to Hawaii now. However, I do want to say that that I have an event coming up. So you can go ahead and put the handout in the chat if you didn't there of this. Thanks, Tracy.
I did. I'll do it again though.
Okay, thank you. I have an event coming up called Miracle Money Manifesting. Now, one of the things I want to say about this, because I feel like you guys are kind of, I see a lot of head nodding that you kind of understand this. It's never about the money. Money only allows us to be creative enough to bring our gift into the world. Okay. And so I use money as that kind of little dangling carrot. Come find out how to do this. So I have a 4-hour virtual retreat. That's a lot, but I have 7 speakers who will actually help me speak on each one of these steps, including Katerina Rando. She will be speaking on the last one, just do it. So you guys all know her, you know, that's the perfect step for her to do, right? But I have amazing women coming on, entrepreneurs. Some of you may also know Karen Hall-Seth, probably not, because you guys are all down south. She was a North Bay, but she's moved away. But anyway, amazing women that are going to help me help you understand how to create miracles almost on demand. And why I say almost is because one of the things that it takes is consistency. Repeat, repeat, repeat. And so I do also offer, and this will be, I'll offer this at the end of the Miracle Money Manifesting class, or during the class, is called Miracle Manifesting. And it's an 8-week class, and the 2nd through 8th class is all on the steps and practicing and getting it. I help calibrate people's visions. I have bonuses extraordinaire. And it's my gift in the world. So, I didn't tell you what happened. So my bestie, she's called the magical marketer. Her name's Julia Stege. Some of you may know her. She said to me when I was telling, oh my gosh, I discovered this how to do miracles on demand. And she goes, you know, everybody needs this, Christi. You need to put this out in the world. And I went, yes, I do. So now I've been doing, mastering the art of life. I take people traveling around the world for their own personal deepening. I have a group leaving for Italy and beyond in August. And actually, we're going to Utah. And Tracy's talked about maybe going in October. But mostly I do international travel. Then I also do a lot of coaching and teaching. I have a lot of the intuitive wisdom drawing sessions. When you take my class, there are 2 different levels now, ladies who took it before. And one of them includes doing 2 intuitive wisdom drawing sessions with me. And then I also have Christi's Clarity. I have a lot of things. You can go to my website, masteringtheartoflife.com, and see all the things, connect with me at Christi at Mastering, and that's Christ with an I, by the way, no I-E, no Y. And I put that in the chat at the very beginning there. So what I want to say to each of you is that you, first of all, are a miracle, and that you also have a miracle within you. And that, as Rumi said, if you do not bring that miracle into the world, and you do all kinds of other things, it's as if you did nothing at all. And so I'm here to love and support people to live their life as a miracle and learn to create miracles on demand. Thank you all for inviting me.
Round of applause. And I just want to give just 2 minutes. If anybody had a question that they would like to ask of Christi now, here you got a bit of a window here. Anybody have one? Well, please, if you do, put it in the chat. Oh, Patty, yeah.
I just want to know if you can work with people that aren't there. I live in Texas, and we do have we have members in PWN that aren't there and stuff. So can you work with them as well?
Everything everything but one thing I do is online. So my intuitive wisdom drawings are all done virtually, and my classes are all taught virtually.
Perfect.
And the miracle manifesting, I'm offering the 4-hour virtual retreat for, it's a $97 price, but I mean, the value is extraordinary, right? But I just put a link, Tracy put a link in there to attend it for $47. And
wow.
If you can't attend all of it, you also get the recording. So, and bonuses, including some of the people do different things. They all have offerings, like sessions with them or sessions at a discount with them, and lots of great stuff. I love to give and give and give and give.
Well, we can obviously tell that you're a giver, so thank you so much.
Oh,
that's a really good deal. Like, that's amazing.
Yes.
So thank you so much. I look forward to seeing you then. And for me, I just want to thank you for allowing me and Krista to host today. This was kind of really, really fun for me. Don't know who our hosts are going to be next month, but we are kind of shaking things up at Level Up at lunch. So stay tuned. So
thanks, ladies. Have a great one.
Thanks, everyone. Great seeing you.
Thanks, ladies. Thanks, Patty.
Thank you.
Bye.